Okay, so yeah, we're still moving.
Yay.
Right, how are you doing? All right.
Yeah, good, thanks. I'm really nervous.
Love that. You'll be fine. So, yeah, we're being joined, as you can see, by Julia. So we're gonna try not to chat too much bollocks, but
Yeah,
we'll
that's
bail on
hard.
that. Exactly. Right, we'll kind of get straight into it.
Cool.
So, let's start with the beginning in terms of like your fitness journey. Yeah, it's all yours.
Cool.
Just take us to the start.
I've always been a bit of a fitness freak, if you like. I was always a kid who couldn't sit still. I always had to do something.
Yeah.
So kind of from the beginning, I started playing handball when I was 8 years old.
Okay.
And I got very much into it. It's not a very popular sport in the UK. But coming from Poland, it's something that I watched quite regularly, at home. And I really got into it. I got lucky enough that my school had a handball coach,
Okay.
and I joined the North Yorkshire team. And I played handball for 10 years, so I stopped playing when I was 18.
Right, okay.
Which was really, really fun. We did loads of tournaments all around England and the UK. And when that stopped, I knew I needed something new to do, because once again, I can't sit still. I need to do something. And that's when I kind of found a bit of a love for the gym, and especially weightlifting, if you like. So I did that for a few years. I was a bit of a cardio hater. The only cardio I would do is walk, and I would probably sit on the bike for about 5 minutes after my gym session, which really isn't much at all.
Yeah.
Especially after doing, kind of handball was very cardio heavy, really. I kind of just wanted to step out of it. I was quite slim at the time. Don't want to say skinny because I hate that word, but I was very, very slim. I had a bit of an issue with a pituitary gland in my head, which wouldn't grow, and that meant I couldn't grow. Got past that. I started putting a little bit of weight on, a little bit of mass on, and it did wonders for me, not physically, but both physically and mentally. I loved it. I love training in the gym. I love lifting heavy weights. And I still enjoy the gym. I don't lift nowhere near as heavy now. I probably couldn't. It would probably crush me. But I still do enjoy the gym, just for different reasons now. So I started the gym, like I said, when I was about 18. I also got my level 2 fitness instructor qualification at the time. I got my level 3. So I started learning more about that, more about nutrition. So yeah, I did that. Kind of then thought, I need something new to do now. And I thought, do you know what? I'm going to start going for little runs. Never thought I'd be a runner, ever. Ever. Hated running. Whenever someone said to me, I'm going for a run, I thought, why would you do that? What are you running from?
A lot of things.
Yes, exactly. And I remember going out a few times, maybe for like 20 minutes, did a 5K, and I thought, no, not for me. But I was persistent with it, and I thought, no, I'm going to stick at it, and I'm going to see what I can do. I ran my 10 kilometre, my first ever 10 kilometre. It absolutely destroyed me. I couldn't move for days. I was in such agony. Then I thought, well, if I can run a 10 kilometre, I can run 50k. Surely I can do that. So
as you do.
As you do. So I ran the 10 kilometres, got home, went on my phone, and I just looked at ultramarathon races in the following year. So I gave myself I think it was about 8-9 months to train for this ultramarathon. Training block was horrible. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't really have a plan. I did it.
Yeah.
Back then, running a half marathon for me was not even doable.
Yeah,
and I remember I ran my first half marathon with my best friend Holly, and oh my god, it was so painful. And I thought, oh gosh, like 21k is really far. How am I meant to do double that and more in a few months' time? And I think that half marathon was in September, and my ultra of 2024, and my ultra marathon was meant to be in January 2025. And I thought, can't do it. I definitely can't do it. Stuck to the plan, whatever plan it wasn't very good, like I said. And I remember one of the training runs was a 36 kilometre, and it was in December. The conditions were absolutely horrid. It was storming, it was raining, it was freezing. And I went out there and I ran in 7 kilometre loops until I got to 36k. My God, and I finished that and I just had a massive mental breakdown. I thought, I can't do this. Like, this is really hard. Came to race day, which was January the 12th, I believe, 2025. The day came, I was cabbed up to high heavens. Never eaten so best part of running.
That's why we do it.
Exactly. So I was cabbed up, I was ready to go. It was up in Durham. The original race that I was meant to be running got cancelled. Harry actually found the race in Durham for me. It was originally meant to be, once again, a 7 kilometre loop. And then because of the weather conditions, it was cold, it was icy, it was about -7 degrees, and there was loads of ice on the trail that I was running around. They've shortened it down to a 5 kilometre loop. So I had to run around this 5 kilometre loop 10 times.
Nice.
And I remember I got to half marathon point and I recorded myself. And I still have this recording on my phone, and it says, I'm at 21k, I think I'm going to die. I was in so much pain. I had my brother and my mum with me on the day, and I was in so much pain that when my shoelace came undone, I couldn't even bend to tie my shoelace.
Yeah.
I had to get my mum to tie my shoelaces for me, which was very humbling. Met loads of great people on the way, that I now follow on Strava. And I finished the race. I was in so much pain. I sat in the back of the car with my legs in the back of the car, my legs straight, and I just couldn't move. Anyway, and it got time to get out of the car. My brother had to literally carry me from the car into the house, and I thought, never again.
Love that.
But it didn't stop there.
I love that. So, yeah, going back to like when you like trained for it.
Yeah.
When I trained for my first marathon, I didn't really know what I was doing either, and I was kind of, is this right? Am I doing this properly? And then I'm guessing, like, for the ones you've done since then, you kind of like knew what to do and knew what not to do.
A bit more, yeah.
I think. Well.
Yeah, I think so. I'm still nowhere near as, where I want to be in terms of ultra running, but I am definitely learning my body. Training's one thing, and then you've got your nutrition, which is just as important, if sometimes not more.
Yeah.
You could be physically absolutely brilliant, and if your stomach goes during a race,
yeah, you're
done. You're done. There's nothing you can do. So yeah, I've definitely kind of, I'm still learning how to, program runs, and for this training block that I am currently in, I've started using the Runner app. Do I use it 100% of the time? Absolutely not. I switch things around,
Same, to be fair.
Yeah, like, sometimes I think, right, I can do more this week, so I'm going to do more. And then other weeks, I think, I can't do this much. I'm going to have a bit of a deload week, along with other things that, I might be training for and stuff like that. So, yeah, but it's a learning curve, isn't it? You're always learning.
I feel like Runner is, because I use Runner too, I think it's good in terms of like providing structure, but you do definitely sort of deviate from it a little bit.
Definitely.
Because I think Runner thinks you're a robot and not a human to a certain extent.
Yes, and it can be quite intense.
Exactly. Like, I've kind of like, say if I'm meant to do a long run every week, I'll do one, especially in like the second half of the block, I'll do like one every other week.
Yeah, it catches up with you. Yeah,
Definitely. We'll talk about High Rocks in like a different episode.
Yeah.
But how do you like sort of train for both at the same time? Because that's one thing I
it's
really
hard.
can't do.
It's so hard. It's very intense. I've definitely not. I'm not going to go into too much detail about High Rocks, but I have definitely not trained for it enough this time round. I've done, a few High Rocks in the past, but with one coming up a week today, and it's my first solo race. I am absolutely underprepared, but my aim for that race is just to give it my all, try my best, and enjoy it most of all. You know,
Definitely,
we do
yeah.
these things. I mean, I know myself, I do these things because I enjoy them. You know, I wouldn't do something if I absolutely hated it.
Yeah.
And yeah, you know, I might go on some runs and I think, God, I really don't want to go today. Like, can't be arsed, I've got no motivation, I'm tired. But I've never finished a run, even if it was a run that, you know, maybe didn't go 100% to plan. I never think, oh, I wish I never went.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ever. I don't think I've ever had that.
Yeah,
So.
it's normal, isn't it, to feel on some mornings or some days you kind of like, yeah, I really don't want to do this. But then,
Definitely.
like you say, when you kind of finish it, you're like always glad that
Absolutely.
you did it, and even if it's not all of it,
No.
because sometimes, like you say, you got to sort of sometimes less is more because you don't want to like overdo it, burn yourself out, injure yourself or anything
Definitely.
like that. We'll kind of go back towards while you were training for your first ultra. So Ryan actually asked, what was your biggest challenge in transition from like weight training to marathon training?
Oh gosh, I feel like there was a lot. I was just completely in, you know, the dark of what it consisted of, and I started watching like YouTube videos and, you know, looking at pro ultra marathon runners. And I think my biggest issue is I was comparing myself to these pro athletes who have been doing it for years and years.
Yeah.
And I would absolutely bash myself, you know. I saw the paces and it was, you know, mental. Some of them were running, you know, 100 kilometers in 7-8 hours. And I thought, how is this like? And if I didn't, you know, run as fast as they did, or if I failed training run, I would completely bash myself for not being able to do it. So I think comparing myself to other people who I knew, you know, in my head, I knew they were such a high level and I knew they were doing it for years and years and years. And I was only, you know, a few months into it. Definitely comparison to people. But definitely also kind of finding that consistency and you know, you waking up on a Saturday morning. I mean, my biggest mistake was doing my training block in autumn winter.
Okay.
You know, waking up on a Saturday morning knowing I've got a 37-kilometer run on the cards, and it was just getting out the house to do it. Once you're out the house, I'm sure you know yourself.
Yeah.
You're absolutely fine. It was
100%.
Getting out the house.
Yeah.
But also, I do not look like a typical runner at all. You know, when you think of a typical runner, you know, when you run, watch like London Marathon, any sort of marathon, everyone's very, very lean, very slim. You know, not too much muscle mass. And I thought, I'm not a runner. I can't be a runner. I'm too muscular. I'm too big. My thighs are too big. I'm too hench. I'm too big. I've got too much muscle. Not at all, but you know, you kind of compare yourself, don't you?
Of course,
you know, not only you know with women but men, and you know, there was times where I thought I'm just not good enough, and you know, you have this thought in your head, and I still sometimes do. You know, I'm not meant to do this. I'm not meant to be doing this, but you know, if you go out and run 100 meters, you're a runner. If you go out and run 5K, you're a runner. Anyone can be a runner. But transitioning from weight training to that, because obviously you know, that's all I've done for so many years. It was absolutely horrendous in terms of, you know, body image. Body image was absolutely the most difficult thing.
Okay.
You know, and I'd see people on runs and, you know, they'd be very slim and, you know, they'd look like what I thought a runner would look like.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't look like that. I don't look like that.
So that's quite interesting because I've never sort of thought of that at all whenever I've run. But I guess like we're all different, aren't we? Mm-hmm. But so did you kind of think like you had to look like
I think typical? So. But it was until I ran my first ultramarathon, the 50-kilometer, and I realised there's so many people of so many different shapes, so many different sizes. You know, there were people who looked like your standard runner, but that was maybe about 10% of the people that were there.
Yeah.
You know, there was people bigger than me, smaller than me, taller than me, shorter than me, older. I mean, you know, once again, I thought, oh, I'll go. There's going to be people, majority, you know, that are my age.
Yeah.
Not at all. A lot of people in the ultra community are quite a bit older, you know.
I've noticed that.
You know, maybe in 25, I was one of the youngest ones there, if not the youngest. You know, a lot of people were in their late 30s, early 40s. There was people in the 50s. And, you know, with other races that I've done, the age range and, you know, body sizes, body shapes, so different. And it's so lovely to see. And it kind of, you know, means that you're not comparing yourself, because at the end of the day, what does a runner look like?
Exactly. Well, yeah, exactly. Like I say earlier, we're not robots.
No.
And like there's like I say, in comparison is the thief of joy.
Oh,
As well. So if
absolutely.
you're constantly comparing yourself to other people in any walk of life or scenario, then that's just not
Oh gosh, yeah.
not good for you, is it?
Definitely not.
So like obviously you touched on body image
Mhm.
in terms of like a challenge of transitioning, but would because obviously like say strength training, it's quite like a lot of power and high intense, but for a very short amount of time. But I'm guessing, well, not really guessing, I kind of know that like ultra marathon training or just any training for any kind of long distance running, it's kind of like the opposite way round. I know you have like your tempo runs and intervals and stuff like that, but then there are a lot of kind of like longer runs where like it's a lower intensity at a slow run, but for a much longer period of time.
Mhm.
How do you find? Well, how did you find that sort of to begin with? Because it's very different to what you've been used to doing, like in the
absolutely.
gym.
Yeah, definitely. It is very different. When you're doing a tempo run or a threshold run or intervals, your brain's constantly, being challenged, and you have to think. When you're on
Yeah.
a long run, I think you have to sometimes just learn to switch it off. I tend to play games in my head. I'll create scenarios in my head for whatever reason. Music always helps me. I'm singing along to Hannah Montana and High School Musical and stuff like that.
That's not just on your long
That's not
runs.
just that's just every day.
In the office.
That is very true. And don't get me wrong, I'll still go on like longer runs, and I think this is boring, but I know it will be beneficial in the long run. But yeah, it is definitely hard. I think those longer runs, it's not about your lung capacity. Yeah, obviously, you do need to have a decent level of cardiovascular health, but it is absolutely mental. It is in your head. Like, you have to keep yourself occupied for 3, 4, 5, God knows how many hours. However long it takes you to run that.
Yeah.
And I think the worst thing is, sometimes you probably have it yourself. You think, right, I've got, let's say, 30 kilometers. I'm going to run as fast as I can, so I get it over as fast as I can. But then that's not the point. You need to learn how to, work in your zone 2, and, how to keep your heart rate down and stuff like that. But I just try to switch my brain off and try to get out of the habit of constantly looking at my Garmin and, seeing what distance I'm on, because it can be quite, heartbreaking sometimes.
Yeah,
you think you've been
definitely.
out for ages and you've actually been running for about 40 minutes and 7k in, and you think, oh my gosh. But I like to split into like sections as well. So I'll be like, right, I'm only doing 5k 4 times. That's not bad.
Yeah, I'll say like, I've got like 2 or 3
2
park
pack
runs
runs
to go. Yeah,
absolutely. Running with people, me and Harry run together sometimes. Helps, you chat, and before you know it, like, we ran a half marathon a few weekends ago.
Yes.
And it went really fast because you've got company, haven't you?
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes I like to just run by myself, to be in my own thoughts, and it's so good for you. You could have the worst day in the world, and just going out and getting a run in, really, really does help. But yeah, I think you just have to keep your brain either switched off completely during a long run, or keep it occupied.
Yeah.
If it gets really bad, I will put David Goggins on.
Some boy.
And he'll call me a little bee, and I'm like, right, I'm not that.
Not wrong.
I'm gonna carry on. I just think, it's temporary pain or temporary boredom, essentially. Would I regret stopping now in 3 hours' time? Yes, I would. I'm gonna carry on.
Yeah, because you'll get, if you stop earlier and then later on in the day, kind of like, oh, I could have done that.
Absolutely.
I listen to like, I've got a like long playlist.
Yeah.
That's like a mixture of different music genres.
Mm-hmm.
It might go from like Richard Ashcroft 1 minute to Kanye West the next.
Yeah, and it keeps
Mixes
you.
It up a bit.
Yeah, it keeps you on your feet, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes I'll listen to one or two podcasts. There's one I listen to called Friday Club, and it's just funny, and I'll
Yeah.
be like pissing myself laughing, and like other people like walking the dog. Go,
I know, why is he laughing so
Yeah,
much?
exactly.
Oh no, absolutely. I think just something that, you know, where you can just switch off and not think about even the fact. Sometimes I like to not think that I'm running like at all. You know, my legs are moving and I'm going, but
Yeah,
in my head, because if I am, you know, so focused on, you know, my breathing and my heart rate, I find that I run a lot worse.
yeah.
Whereas if I just switch off, I actually sometimes perform a lot better.
Yeah, and you sort of
So-
like in autopilot.
Definitely, yeah.
I find like I only really look at my watch for like you know, like after every kilometre it'll tell you like what your pace was.
Yeah.
Because obviously, like say if you're doing like a longer, like easy run, yeah, it's kind of like I don't want to run too fast.
No.
Or if I'm opposite ends of the scale, if I'm going for a time, it just like sort of keeps
Absolutely.
me focused. But I guess like as well, like when you do ultras, you're not really thinking about your time. You just
Not
want to
at
like
all.
finish it. It's like, it's different to like say like a normal marathon or a half or a 10.
Definitely, yeah.
Or
You're not bothered about pace. And I think that's one thing that I really like about ultra marathons. You know, it's not about the pace. You know, I've definitely had to learn not to care about my pace. You know, like last year, about this time last year, you know, came out of surgery and. You know, a few weeks later, I went on my first 5K run post surgery, and I think my average pace was like 5:30 a kilometre.
Okay.
And at that time, I thought, God, that's slow. A year later, now I'm like, who cares? Like,
well, yeah, exactly.
Who cares if it takes you 40 minutes to run a 5K or if it takes you 20 minutes to run a 5K?
Exactly.
5K is 5K. Obviously, if you are competing and you are going for, you know, speed with ultra running, I'm not bothered.
Yeah,
as long as I get to that
matter,
finish line and I've had fun, I'm all right.
Yeah, it's class that, because that one in that Grim Reaper one, was that your second ultra that you did?
Yes, it was my second ultra marathon, which was what, 60 kilometres, I think. Was it?
66.
66 kilometres.
Well, I think like the official distance was 40 miles. Don't know what that is in kilometres, but I think it was a bit more than that. According to Strava anyway. And it's never going to be
absolutely
100% accurate. But yeah, that was like
that was hard.
Grim, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was grim.
Literally Grim Reaper.
Yeah, gosh, yeah. But you know, I mean, you know how we both were. You know, we did our. I think it was third lap or something like that, and I was like, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah, it was quite it's quite character building on it. First lap, absolutely sound. Second lap, I think kind of like you really struggled, lost the will to live. Third lap, it was kind of like the other way around, I think.
Yeah.
Like I was the one like thinking, oh, my life, and then you were the one sort of like picking me up.
Yeah.
And then the fourth lap, like I think the fourth lap was like mentally a lot easier actually than the third lap.
You knew it was your last lap.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely. I think for me, because it was, you know, I had my surgery in April, and I think this was end of May. And I think I remember getting to that top of that hill on that second lap, and I was just started absolutely bawling my eyes out because I was in so much pain. You know, my stitches on my lower abdomen weren't even fully healed. It was probably not the right time to run an ultra marathon.
Show your surgeon his Strava.
Yeah, I should have. I think it'd be kicking my head in, to be honest.
Definitely.
But ultra marathons, yeah, absolutely, you do need to have a good level of fitness. Don't get me wrong, but it is such a war in your head. You know, it's you against you. There's no one else who can get you through that race except from you. Because if you shut down, that's it.
Yeah,
you know?
Definitely.
And you can't, you know, you've seen me, I shut down, and then you know, it's good to be stubborn sometimes in things like that, because you think, no, not a bitch, I'm gonna get this done. I'm gonna get this done.
Yeah, definitely.
And you know, we both finished it, and it was mint, wasn't it? You know,
exactly.
Yeah, my feet were absolutely manky and gross. I had the wrong trail shoes on. It was my first pair of trail shoes, and they did not do anything for me. The skin off my feet was just peeling. It were absolutely disgusting. Felt really bad for the medic because he had to.
Oh shit! I forgot about that. I was like halfway around the lap, wasn't it?
And I remember I remember telling you, I was like, I can't run anymore. It's really hurting. Got to medic 10, put my leg up, and the medic looked at that, and I remember, I don't know why I said this, but I said to him, I hope you don't have a foot fetish. Whilst he's looking at my gammy foot.
It's like,
Oh my gosh. And then I was like, oh, I'm really sorry, they probably stink really bad. And I thought, just shut up. But, you know, you look at those things and it's so funny, and it's like, you think, oh, what a great day. And I think that, you know, the good always outdoes the bad, you know.
Oh, of course it does.
You know, and now I look at me crying at God knows whatever kilometre it was, and I think, Christ.
I think that was like maybe 25k in or something like that.
Yes, it wasn't even halfway in.
Yeah.
And I thought, I can't do this today. But I think that at that point I was still a little bit like, oh, pace, like, you know, I'm not doing this fast enough. And then, you know, I was like, who cares if I do it in 5 hours or if I do it in 10 hours, you know?
It's different ultra.
You know, when people like, when I tell people, oh, like I ran an ultra marathon, I don't think I once got asked, oh, how long did it take you? They usually say, are you all right in the head? You know, well done for completing an ultra marathon, rather than what pace was you at? What was your average pace? You know, it's not about that. And I think, you know, the ultra community is so nice.
Yeah, everyone's like
so nice.
It's like no like egos or vanity. It's all just like
absolutely.
Oh,
you know, you're obviously going to have your very good runners who are there to win, who are there to, you know, beat their records and, you know, go for it. But, you know, you see, you know, 6-year-old Steve who's just plodding along and you think, ace, like that's amazing. And, you know, people have different stories and people do it for different reasons. People do it for charities. People doing it, you know, for themselves. You know, people may have had, I don't know, maybe going through a divorce or something. Like, do you know what I mean? I've heard so many different reasons for it.
Absolutely.
And it's so nice because, you know, it's not just about, oh, I'm trying to be a really good runner and I want to be as fast as I can. People are doing it for their mental health and so many different lovely reasons. It's amazing.
Yeah. It's really nice, isn't it?
Really nice.
Really good. And I feel like you, like on an ultra, like you kind of like you say, you'll meet like, say, random people from all different walks of life, and then you end up running with them for a bit, kind of like unintentionally, and then you kind of just like push each other on. Yeah, exactly. And it's as if you've known them for like 20 years or whatever.
You know, I think every person that I've run with during ultras has just told me their life story, and I feel like I've known you for about 10 years. I've known everything about you because I've been running with you for like 4 hours.
Yeah, exactly. Just a really good way of like getting to know people, isn't it?
It's really good.
But I think that second one we did, the Grim Reaper one, was really good for you in terms of, because you had the Peak District 100k. Was it a month later or something like that?
It was June, end of June it was.
So yeah, about 4 or 5 weeks later, and I think that second one was really good for you because you kind of like, you kind of like struggled with it at times, but you still did it. So it's kind of like a good thing to happen. It was a
confidence boost. You know, I thought, right, I've done 66 kilometres. I can do another, whatever it is, 44 kilometres, obviously. You know, just a marathon and a bit.
Exactly, what's
that? So I had 100 kilometres a month after that, which is still my longest run. Hopefully not for too long. Signed up to another race today. But yeah, 100k came round very quickly. And best race ever. I loved it. I mean, you even saw, you know, it was mint, wasn't it?
Yeah, really well organised.
Really well organised. So it was 100 kilometres in the Peak District. And once again, I was like, you know, I'm still very new to it. You know, I'm still figuring stuff out. But, you know, things like your fueling and, you know, just can my head cope with running for so long? But I actually ran with a guy who I met at the 50 kilometre Durham Ultra, and we literally stuck together the whole way through, and it was really nice because, you know, I met other people on the route as well, but it was nice because you had someone when you were down, they might have been on a high, and when they were on a low, you were on a high, and it was just pushing each other. You know, I had Harry there, and I had my dog there, and it was such a nice day. You know, I remember hitting 5 kilometres, and I was like, shit, 95k to go.
Yeah, nearly
My
there.
lord. But it was kind of like, I was like, you know what, one foot in front of the other, keep chipping away. And I had so much fun. So much fun. My stomach was all right. You know, I didn't really have, you know, there was times where I was running downhill and I was like, oh, something's going on. Don't know what, but something's going on. The biggest issue during that day was the heat.
It was a hot day.
It was a very hot day. There was not an amount of water, fluids, electrolytes I could have taken on to kind of outdo how much water I lost. And I am someone who sweats a god awful amount, so I was losing so much water. You know, this is gonna be disgusting. I just wasn't weeing at all. I remember it, 75 kilometres, it was that aid station.
Yes.
And just before that, I hit a massive wall. And my thighs were they expanded so much from the heat, they started chafing. And it was the worst thing ever. I remember I went to Medic 10 and I just said to a woman, please do something about my fucking thighs. Because I can't run. I can't do anything. And she, you know, she was like, put Vaseline on it. And I was like, look, I keep sweating the Vaseline off. It's not working. I had like, I don't want to call it lube. It was essentially lube that you put on your skin to stop chafing. But I was sweating so much, it just would come off. And she said, look, the only thing we can do is tape your thighs. I looked ridiculous, but she taped my thighs. And at that point, I didn't think I'm going to have to take that tape off at some point with my chafing thighs. She put it on and I was like, right, 25k to go, light work. It wasn't light work whatsoever. It was awful. No, it wasn't awful. It was fun, but I remember hitting 90 kilometres. That was the last aid station. And some woman got taken in an ambulance because she was hallucinating so much. And I thought,
I didn't even know.
Yeah, she got taken. And I thought, how awful. Imagine running 90 kilometres. You've got 10k to go. You get taken by a bloody ambulance. But it was so hot. People were genuinely just really suffering. And about 5 kilometres to go, I just said to myself, the last 5 kilometres, I don't know who made that route, but whoever it is, I hope the pillow was warm for the rest of their life. It was uphill, just constant uphill. Last 5 kilometres, you know, your legs are shot, you're dehydrated, you're done. It was dark, it was, 10 p.m, I believe, something like that, 9, 10 p.m.
Later than that.
Whatever it was.
I think it was like 25-1 when you crossed the finish line.
Was it?
I think, yeah.
I think that's when we got back to the Airbnb. I think it was a bit earlier. I don't know. Anyway, I remember 95 kilometres. I just said to myself, I'm just going to sit down for 5 minutes. I'm just going to sit down on this bench. I go to sit on this bench. There's no fucking bench. I sat on the ground.
Yeah.
In my head, it was there, but I think the hallucinations started kicking in, and I scared myself a bit. I thought, God, it's dark. I've got 5k to go, and I've just sat on a bench that isn't there. Christ. Like that. And that 5k took me so long because, like I said, it was just uphill. I had a really crap head torch, which it wasn't very good. I couldn't see very well. And I was still with that guy that I was running, and I remember we got to about, I think it was like 98 kilometre, and I was like, no, come on, like, we've got 2 kilometres, you know,
we can
finish it, like 2 kilometres, and we started running, and I remember just like crossing the finish line, and I was like, this is bliss, like, what the hell, I've just ran, plodded 100 kilometres.
Unreal.
You know?
Yeah.
A year before that, I couldn't even run.
Yeah.
I didn't even, you know, I could maybe run like 15 kilometres at that point.
Shows what you can do. And
oh my gosh, absolutely. And I remember that day just being the best day ever. I bloody loved it. Unfortunately, because of the heat, I had severe heat stroke.
Yeah.
So I remember getting into the shower that night, and I had to take that bloody tape off, and I thought I was going to scream the house down. It were awful. I was trying, I think you were asleep at this point. I was trying not to wake Harry up.
I didn't say I was tired.
I was in so much pain. I remember, you know, And it got to the next day, and I got home, and I was just throwing up. Body temperature 40 degrees, and I thought, I'm gonna die. Like, this is not good. I remember Mum saying to me, like, why would you do that to yourself? And I was like, do you know what? It was worth it. I lost 3 kilos in 2 days, though. You know, it was all water. You know, I lost so much water, and I couldn't eat the next day. You know, I've just, you know, burned probably about 12,000 calories that day, and I couldn't get anything in. I was throwing up. It was coming out both ends. Body temperature through the roof. But, you know, I look back on it, I think that was such a good race. Such a good race.
Definitely.
But at no point during that race did I think, what's my pace?
Oh, yeah, wouldn't even, wouldn't it
And I think my average pace was like 9 minutes something per kilometres. Who cares?
Who cares?
Oh
Yeah,
my
absolutely.
gosh, it was mint. I loved it. But I think if I was so anal about, you know, my pace, I would have hated it.
You wouldn't have enjoyed it,
I wouldn't have
would
enjoyed
you?
it.
Yeah, that's it. I remember, like, when I drove to the first, like, checkpoint, it was like 25. It was at the 25k point. It was like 8:30 in the morning, and it was like already like
we were roasting.
Already roasting. Bear in mind, I was just stood around, wasn't even like doing it. So I thought, fucking hell, like you are going to be roasting.
It was really warm.
Yeah, and it's like even if it was like a cold day, it would have been like difficult enough. But then the heat just adds an extra.
I mean, we're not used to it in this country, are we? It was one of the hottest days of the year, for God's sake. So. Yeah, it was fun, and I will always remember that race as definitely one of the best ones I've done.
Mega that. It
was fun.
And then since then, you've done. I feel like I'm going to miss one out.
No, go on.
Did the.
I did one in the Dales.
That's
which I won.
Yes. One in the Dales, the one in Durham again, and then
I did 90 kilometres around.
90k around Brighton Bath, then the one in Durham with me. And then
I've done
the
Last
backyard,
Man Standing.
Last Man Standing.
We'll talk about the Dales one because I won that one.
That's a big flex.
Which was so I ran this Dales one, and I ran it with a really awful ankle as well. My ankle was absolutely shot, but I remember I went into that race thinking nothing of it at all. And I was just running, and I think I was on about just before this was I think it turned out to be a 64. It was a 40 miler, but once again, it turned out to be like 64 kilometers.
Yeah. Was it self-navigating?
It was self-navigating, which I didn't know about, and it's a good thing that I downloaded the map onto my Garmin because otherwise I would have been absolutely cooked.
100k.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I probably would have. And I remember, and I'm not very good at navigating, and I just and I remember, it was just before 40 kilometers, and I remember my mum messaging me saying, "You're in lead, your first woman," and I was like, "Bullshit, no, I'm not, absolutely not." And then the first thing I thought, I'm gonna call Harry. Like, Harry, can you please check that I am? And he confirmed that I was, and I was like, right, get your ass into gear. You're gonna come first.
I remember, like, what's she ringing me for? It's only it's quite early.
I know. And I got to the marathon distance, and it was just like this massive like stairs, like staircase thing, and I was like, oh god, like this is awful. And then I checked on my phone, like I'm not usually that competitive, and I thought, can't catch up with me now. And I think she was about 2 miles behind me. And I was like, I can't be in lead the whole race and lose it right at the end.
Yeah.
So I sped up, and I was in so much pain, and I was dying. I was like, God, this is so hard. And I was running to the finish line. I was like, first woman. And I got there, and I was like, as if that's just happened. But until, kind of like 40k, at no point did I even look at my pace.
Yeah. My
aim was to finish that race. Can't say the prize was anything astonishing. It was a plank of wood, but saying first female, and I thought, brilliant.
Oh, well, that's the least it actually says.
Yeah, it said first female, and it's on my wall now.
I was going to say, what are you meant to do with plank?
But once again, I just really enjoyed it. But I think when you don't look at the pace and you're not so, bothered about,
it's not
I think you
pressure on yourself.
Better, don't you?
Of course you do.
So that was the Dales. I don't remember.
Then it was, Brighton Bath.
Yes.
That was in first
December.
Weekend in December, wasn't it?
Yeah, so that was meant to be the weekend of a 100-mile race that I was meant to do, which went a bit tits up because the organisers were shocking. And that was meant to be in the Azores in Portugal. Ended up not going, and I was like, right, I don't want to spend another, £200 on another race, because God, that's a lot of money, isn't it? And
Yeah.
they've refunded me for the race, but obviously I've lost, money on my plane tickets and stuff. And I thought, I'm going to run 100 miles around Brighton Bath. Brighton Bath is a little woodland little loop.
Yeah, 2K,
2K
loop,
loop.
isn't it?
And I think my ambitions were a little bit too high. I didn't run 100 miles. I ran 90 kilometres. But I had such great support. I had all my friends there, and it was such a nice day because I was by myself for not that long at all, really. I was having such a nice time. Like 2 kilometres didn't even feel like 2 kilometres at certain points. And then I remember it got to the evening and it started absolutely launching it down with rain. I was really cold, and I just started losing it, and I was running with Nick, right before I tapped out.
Yeah.
And I remember him talking to me, and I was just like, I don't even know what's going on, mate. I don't know what is going on.
Well, that's Nick, to be fair.
Yeah, well, that's it. No, it wasn't his fault. To be fair, bless him. He was, it was quite late on, and then he left, and I was like, right, I'm going to run through the night now. And I was running, and I hit a tree. I knocked myself out, and I kind of just got up, and I was like, this is not safe. It's not a supervised race. It's not an official race. I don't have anyone here with me. And, it was quite late, and I thought, I can't run through the night when I'm here by myself. It's quite dangerous, really. I'm not saying someone would kill me or anything, but, something happened.
That's it, isn't it?
It's going to be a few hours before anyone even finds me. And I remember knocking myself out, and I messaged, I had really cold hands, my hands weren't working. And I tried to, message my brother just to come pick me up. And I tried, and my hands just wouldn't work. And I was like, right, I'm going to run from Brighton Bath to Tesco Garage, which is, just over 1 kilometre.
Yes.
And I was just crying. It was raining, and I was cold, and I was like, oh, get me out of this now. And he came to pick me up. And I remember coming home, and once again, I bashed myself. I was like, you idiot, you should have just carried on, running. Like, why didn't you carry on running? But once again, I have to remember, God, you hit 90 kilometres round a 2 kilometre loop, you idiot. Like,
exactly.
It's fine, not everything is going to go to plan always,
Still, unbelievable achievement.
Yeah, and I thought,
really good.
you're crazy. You ran 90 kilometres round a 2 kilometre, it's fine.
Of course it is.
And then I did my first ultra this year, which was a last man standing. Most humbling thing ever.
Well, before that, you did.
Well, I did 42 kilometres.
Oh, yeah.
Was it a week?
Only 42.
No, yeah, I was meant to run 50 kilometres. Harry ran 50 kilometres. It was a week after was it a week?
It was the week after.
Week after I ran 90k, which was probably a bit too ambitious.
Well, you still.
Thought, I can do it. I ran 42k. My body was like.
Still ran the marathon, though, didn't you?
I did. Yeah, it was all right. It was all right. And then February, I did last man standing. So, if someone doesn't know what last man standing is, it's essentially a 4.2 kilometre loop. No, 4.2 miles.
It's just over 6k.
Just over 6k, yeah.
Called a yard, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So you run that distance every hour on the hour until the last person is standing. And I thought, well, I'm a very stop-start person, which is surely I'm going to be very good at this.
Yeah.
Little did I know, my hamstrings would seize up and basically just revolt and not work. So it started off really, really fun. It was just the same loop, and it was down in Wales. Really nice route. It was a lovely day, glorious day, and I think every day up to that race it was raining, first few laps I was like, this is ace. I'm all right. This is good. Mentally, I was all there. I was, I felt really good. And I don't know which lap it was. I think it was lap number 7. I got to the finish line. I said to Harry, I can't do anymore. Like, this has really had my, because I think I was running them too fast, if I'm being honest. I should have
Okay.
ran them in about 50 minutes, and I was coming in about 37, 40 minutes, which meant I had 20 minutes of just being sat there doing nothing.
Yeah.
And my hamstrings would just tighten up, and I was like, God, this is awful. And Harry was like, no, you can do another one. So I ran the 8th one, and I was like, right, that's enough. I'm done. I wasn't done. I ran 10 laps, which was just over 66.7 kilometres, I believe. Not what I wanted, and I was, a bit disappointed with myself, but I've never done a race like that. I've never done that sort of, stop, start.
Yeah.
Not for 20 minutes where you had to sit, and it was quite cool. It was a nice day, but it was cool.
Yeah.
And I think the mistake I did was I ran it too fast. I need to probably, and I am doing another one. I said to you right after, I was like, I'd never do another one. Like, it's not for me, not doing another one.
Blackguard's not for me, this. And then following morning, booked another one.
Same one, and it's in September. And, because I've done it once now, I'm definitely going to, change my strategy up a bit and just slow down. Yeah. But once again, it was so funny. I've met so many great people there, I met a woman. She was, she looked young as anything. I think she said she was about 40 something. And she was like, my aim is just to get to 50. She was actually waiting for a knee replacement. She had no cartilage in her knee. And I was like, Christ, this is impressive.
Absolutely.
But once again, it's that kind of body image thing. There were so many people with different shapes, different sizes. And I was like, oh, hey, it's like, the people who you never look at and think, oh, they're a runner, but they're running an ultra marathon.
I noticed that a lot because obviously everyone comes back to the same base every 40, 50 minutes.
Yeah, and it was so lovely. And with ultra marathons, I don't think I mentioned this, but you eat the most random stuff in the world. At one point I just found myself eating boiled potatoes.
Yeah, as you do.
And then downing that down with some sweets, and I thought, Christ, not the epitome of health here, but it's carbs and you have to get it in. But
cool.
I hit that 10th lap, and this was the first race where my body gave out before my line did. Because in my head, I was like, I'm so annoyed because my head can run so much more. My body's done. My body's absolutely done. It could not run anymore.
On that penultimate lap, I saw you sort of like holding your hamstring a little bit as you were crossing the line, and I thought, hamstring's not good.
Hamstring's not good. They were just seized up, and I was like,
so you did really well to do another lap, and it was definitely the right decision.
It was definitely.
To stop when you did.
I think if I went for another one, once again, it was pitch black at this point, and I think I would have just done myself damage. And I thought, is it worth an injury? Probably not. Especially with another 100 kilometers coming up in just over 2 months.
Is that in the middle of June?
It's the same time as I did the 100k last year. So I know it's the end of June. I think it's the 30th or something like that.
Okay.
So it's the same organisers that I ran the Peak District with last year, but this one's in the North York Moors. I'm hoping because it's coastal, there's going to be a bit of a breeze. And it's not as hilly. The elevation is still over like 1,000 meters, but the one last year was over 2,000 meters.
Right, got
which is obviously like double. Essentially, you are in the hills, aren't you? So that's coming up just over 2 months. But then today I entered a new race. So
what was that one?
It's down south. And because I am really, really wanting to get that 100 miler in this year.
Okay.
There's not 100 miles, but there's 110 miles. So I thought, that's all right, isn't it? So it's 178 kilometres in Exmoor, which is very hilly. And I never really look at the ins and out of race until after I book it.
Yes.
So I booked it, 6,000 metre elevation.
Isn't it?
I know. So that's coming up, which is going to be hard. But once again, I think because I'm now past the thought of, am I fast enough? Am I, do I look good enough? I don't really think like that anymore. I'm there to enjoy it. The moment I stop enjoying these races, that's when I stop doing it.
Of course, yeah.
For sure.
Love that.
Yeah. But, ultra running in terms of, it being like a, popular within women, it's still very, very, new, really. I mean, if you think about it, women couldn't run marathons until, I think the official marathon that, women could run in was 1972, which really isn't all that long ago.
Because I think it was like Boston, where
Boston
a
Marathon.
woman pretended to be a bloke.
Yeah, she was, known as the Bandit, essentially.
Yeah.
That's what they called her anyway. But, it's not been that long since women could run marathons, and, there's that social norm of, well, women aren't as strong and as good as men physically, so how could they run ultra marathons? And, in the last, I think it said, last time I checked, 23 years, we've gone from about, 13% of women in the ultra game to about, between 20 and 25, which is a big increase. So, there's between 20 and 25% of women in the ultra marathon world now, which is amazing. Like, it keeps going up, it's becoming, women are capable of doing these big things,
Shows other women as well that there's like actually whatever barriers there are, actually.
Oh gosh, yeah,
just do it, can't you?
There's mums doing it. There's there was I can't remember the name of this ultra runner. I mean, she's one of the pros, and she was like 6 months pregnant, and I think she ran like a 300-kilometer ultra race. I thought, my God,
is she the one who like? Yeah, I think I might follow her on Instagram.
It's amazing.
Did she like win an ultra in Wales, and she was the only person to complete it? Or something?
I think so. Yeah, but like, wow, amazing. But I mean, training for now, by no means am I saying it's easier for men, but in a way, it really is. Women don't have to think about your menstrual cycle and stuff like that. I mean, this is going to sound this is probably me overexposing myself, but you have a race and you think, am I going to be on my period?
Because if I am, isn't it?
Then you have to take it into consideration. Different times of the month really have an impact on how you feel. A week before you come on your period, you're not like, you feel absolute shit.
Yeah, of course, and it's like not just kind of ultra, but even like in the Olympics, for example, it'll make a massive difference.
And people don't really like think about it until you're in that position, and you think, Christ, I'm going to have to carry tampons in my running vest, and where am I going to change? And
of course.
And you feel disgusting and dirty, and I mean, ultramarathons are absolutely not an elegant sport.
Yeah, you just can't. At all. Yeah, no one gives a shit. The
last man standing one I did. It was I think it was the first loop. I was just running, and this guy was just pissing in the middle of the track, and he was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry," and I was like, "What else are you meant to do?
Exactly.
Piss your pants." If you've got to go, you've got to go.
Exactly.
And you're taking on so much fuel and things like gels, and it goes through you. You get a bad stomach, and there's times where you need to have a while to poo. It is what it is, but yeah, like
all been there.
We've all been there, but yeah, like when I first started, I never thought I'd have to take into consideration things like my period and like what time of the month it is and stuff like that, and how much of an impact it will have on you. It's crazy. It's honestly crazy, but it's so much fun, and I think just the community really, really does make it. It's such a lovely and warming community.
Of course.
You don't feel out of place, and doing that last man standing, the guy who won it, I mean, he did. I remember, I think he did like 27 hours.
Yeah, at least.
It were ridiculous.
Driving back the following
and he was still running.
Just crazy.
And I remember, like, I ran my last lap with him, last 10th lap with him, and he was like, he was really supportive, and I knew he was fresh as anything. I was on the brinks of hell.
Yeah.
And he was fresh, but not at one point did he say, anything to make me feel crap about myself.
No.
It was very, it was nice, and it's men, it's women, and it, so many different ages. Like I said before, like you've got people in your 20s, people in their 30s. I don't know if do you remember there was that one man? He was older, like a much older fella, and his aim was just to run 50 kilometers. I say just.
Yeah.
He was probably about 70.
Yeah, it's class, isn't it?
And he crossed that finish line to get the ultra medal, and everyone's clapping, and it was such a nice
proper
nice
good vibe,
atmosphere.
isn't it?
And,
Yeah.
you think, wow, like this is amazing.
It's not like intimidating in the slightest, even to anyone who's and ahhing and think, oh, this may not be for me.
Just give it a go.
Exactly, because like you say, everyone's like really friendly, supportive, push each other on.
Absolutely.
And then it makes the experience like even better.
Definitely.
On top of like the achievement in itself.
Yeah. I'd recommend it to everyone. Just do an ultra.
Do an ultra.
No, but I think just kind of, I never thought I'd run. Never mind running ultra marathons.
Yeah, but even if it's like
a 5K race.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what? Like when people are saying to me, "Oh, like I'm not as good as you. I just ran a 5K," and I'm like,
"Don't matter.
It don't matter."
Yeah.
Why does it matter? It's relative, isn't it? Like I once couldn't run 5K.
Yeah.
I was out of breath after about 2 minutes.
Exactly.
It's a lot of discipline. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of early mornings. This training block is nice because it's kind of through like spring and stuff. But I remember mornings where it was like my alarm would go off at 4 a.m. before work. It was launching it down. It was windy. It was freezing. And it was just getting it done. And once again, there was mornings where I woke up and I thought, why am I doing this? But it's absolutely all worth it in the end.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, really, really good.
I feel like in some ways training's like a lot tougher than the actual like.
Do you know what I like to look at it? Yeah, as like training is like the hard part, and then the race is just your reward essentially of all the hard work that you have to put in. It's a celebration of all those hours, all that training, the sacrifices that you have to make and stuff like that. For that, one day. But another thing, you finish the race and you think, now what?
Yeah, that's it. You're on that sort of like initial sort of come down, aren't you? But that's why we sort of joke about it. But that's why you like keep booking
it. Yeah,
more stuff.
You've just spent 16 weeks in a training block. One day and it's over.
Exactly.
And you're like, now I feel crap about myself.
Yeah. What
I need
now?
something else. And I am that person who's like, and I need something to like work towards, because if I don't know what to do with myself.
That's how I felt after my first marathon. I hadn't booked anything for ages, and I was kind of like,
now what?
Yeah, exactly. So it's definitely like important to just like every so often have something to aim for.
Definitely.
Keeps you motivated, keeps you in that sort of routine with your training block.
Absolutely.
But I think like we'll do a separate High Rocks one another time, because you're doing one in Warsaw next week.
Week today.
First
solo.
And then 3 weeks time, well, we're both doing. I'm doing Cardiff solo on the Friday. You're doing pro doubles on the Sunday, is it?
I am, yeah.
As you do. So
God, that's scary.
We'll do like a High Rocks related one then. Catch up, like what? Episode would be like, what do we do this for?
Why have we done this again? But it's one of those where you think never doing this again, and then you book another one, and you're like, oh, it can't have been that bad.
Exactly. So we'll definitely do another one. But thank you very much.
Thank you
coming on.
Thank
you for your time. My pleasure. Like really good. I think everyone will really enjoy listening.
I'm glad.
Because I think like a lot of people are kind of like aware that you do all this stuff, but don't necessarily know kind of like behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So I think it's good to kind of like that you were able to kind of explain your story
about
that and kind of the challenges you faced in it. That was like really, really good.
Good.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we'll have a coffee now. And
Yay!
We'll catch up on this in a few weeks' time.
Brilliant.
Thank you very much. Do widzenia.